Us now is the #3 Republican in the House, Wyoming's Liz Cheney. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Margaret.
You heard the vice president say next time the president might say something. Why doesn't the president, as a matter of principle, say unequivocally that non-white Americans are just as American as anyone else? Why doesn't he put this to rest?
Well, I think you've heard him say that the chant was inappropriate. We've all said the chant was inappropriate. I think the news media,
patriotic, very patriotic.
I think the news media really wants to make this about race. You just did it. This isn't about race. It's not about gender. It's not about religion. These members of the House of Representatives, it's not just these four, it's also some of the candidates who are running for president on the Democratic side, fundamentally believe in policies that are dangerous for this nation. And as Republicans, we are going to fight against those, even if the mainstream media accuses us of racism when we do that. This is about their support for social. It is absolutely wrong. It should not have happened. We've all said it shouldn't have happened. I would really like to see the media as focused. I would like to see the media as focused on the substance of what this wing of the Democratic Party is advocating, because that is really dangerous for our country.
You understand the president tweeted about this morning, before we went to air.
Right.
So the president is continuing this conversation.
The president this morning, before we came on air, talked about the extent to which they love this nation. And I think that if you go back and you look at many of the things they've said, you saw the vice president say some of that this morning as well, talking about the nation as garbage, for example. But I would again reiterate, this election and these issues that we're talking about are fundamental to the future of this country. When you have members of Congress who are as anti-Semitic as Ilhan Omar has been, when you have members of Congress who are advocating the complete elimination of the use of all fossil fuels, all air travel, the elimination of private insurance, the imposition of socialism on this country, we're not going to stand for that. We're not going to stand for policies that take freedom away from the American people. That's what this fight is about.
But what you're talking about there are policy differences.
That's right.
Not what the president was tweeting about this morning.
Listen,
and when he said, I don't believe the 4 congresswomen are capable of loving our country. I know you disagree with their policies and politics. You just made that clear. But there have been death threats against Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. In April, there was an arrest because someone called her office and said, asked if she was a member of the Muslim Brotherhood and said he put a bullet in. Are you going to let me answer your question?
I'm asking the question. I got the question.
A bullet in
there are fundamentally, this is a moment where we have to be very clear. And it's really important for us to focus on. And I know you guys don't want to. You don't want to focus on the fact that there are substantive differences. You also don't want to focus on the. I let you ask me the question. This is about
but that's
policy,
what the president is talking about. He's
that
not
is not
talking
true.
about
The president every single day talks about policy.
Every single day,
every single day, this president talks about the tremendous economic growth that we have seen since he's been in office, the tremendous job growth, the tremendous decline
of loving
in unemployment.
Our country has nothing to do with jobs.
You are making my point.
With that sentiment?
You are making my point for me right now. We are
you agreeing with the
focused
president or disagreeing with him? Because I'm not clear.
The president has absolutely said that they should not have chanted "Send her back." Our concern and our opposition to what these women are saying, and many other members of the Democratic Party in the House of Representatives, has to do with the fact that they are advocating policies that will destroy this nation, and we will fight against it. And I think the news media, you included, ought to cover the substance. And I think it is outrageous for you to say the president doesn't talk about substance. Every single day, you can look at the evidence. You can look at the fact that this nation is stronger than it has probably ever been. You can look at what the president's policies have done on economic growth. But you don't want to talk about that. So I do think that
we would love to talk about that. And
you have every opportunity, every single day.
The president this morning tweeted that they don't love their country.
You've made that point, Margaret.
The rest of the world is also watching this, though.
That's right.
Canada's prime minister said the comments made were hurtful, wrong, completely unacceptable. Germany's chancellor said these sentiments are in opposition to her impressions about the U.S., and she expressed solidarity, in her words, with the attacked women. The Prime Minister of the UK issued a statement condemning this, of New Zealand. These aren't members of the media. These are world leaders. Should Americans find the comments from the president acceptable?
Margaret, listen, I know you want to continue to talk about this as though it had to do with race. I know you want to continue to talk about it as though it had...
all those world leaders
Margaret, I just let you go through. Look, I don't think the American people are going to look to foreign leaders to tell us who should lead the nation. They're not going to look to foreign leaders to tell us whether or not we should be a socialist country. Thank goodness we won't do that. We depend upon those people who are elected. And I think that when you see the Democratic members of Congress standing up and saying that they want to, that we have concentration camps on our borders, that they want to provide free health care for illegal immigrants, that they want to end private health insurance, that they want to impose socialism on this country, they need to defend those policy positions. And we are going to take every opportunity to make sure the American people, who are the ones that are going to make this choice come November 2020, recognize the fundamental choice that we're all facing.
I want to get to you on Iran, but I just do want to point out that there are 2 black elected Republicans who said that this was racially insensitive.
Margaret,
and another Republican, Mark Walker, said it was painful.
So we have all said
that's not the media.
Excuse me, but
on Iran.
Listen, you just continue to sort of put these little points out there and then move on. And every time you do it, you are making the point I'm making. As Republicans, we are focused on substance, we are focused on policy, and we will continue to do that no matter what the mainstream media attempts to do.
All right. Unfortunately, now we don't have time to talk about Iran. But
well,
thank
you should have asked about Iran sooner, because that's a policy issue.
I would love to. If the president tweets about it, we certainly will, because I know you have
He has tweeted about Iran,
actually.
He's tweeted about Iran quite a bit. It'd be good to cover all the president's tweets.
I would love to. Great. Thank you very much. But we have to go now to the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Adam Schiff, who has been standing by. He joins us from Burbank this morning. Congressman, thank you for getting up early. You just heard Congresswoman Cheney there. When it comes to the issues that she says are about policy, not about race, not about politics, is that how you hear the comments from the president this morning?
No, absolutely not. I think, tragically, the president has decided that racism is good politics. Racism is a good political strategy. There's a reason why he keeps returning to attacking these women of color and the rhetoric that he uses. The crowd's ugly racist chant didn't materialize out of nothing. It came from the president's own tweet and words and incendiary rhetoric. This, of course, wasn't a one-off either. This was the same president who said there were good people on both sides of a neo-Nazi rally. This is who he is, and he thinks it's a winning political strategy. And God help us if it is. I think it's a losing strategy, and I think we're going to see next year what a colossal losing strategy it is. And we're going to push back every time he engages in this kind of race-baiting, racist rhetoric.
Do Democrats need to push back more within their own party, though? As the president has said, there are members of it, 4 of them in particular, who he's focusing on, whose language he's characterized as reckless, as anti-Semitic, he has said. Do Democrats need to do more to be more careful about their own language?
I don't think there's really any equivalence here. We're not, inciting crowds to chant, send them back. This is coming from the president. And yes, we have a big and diverse caucus, and the political views of our caucus are as reflective of the country as they are of our caucus. But that is not in any way equivalent to the kind of racist rhetoric coming out of the White House. So look, I fully expect our members are going to be very aggressive out there. We have strong disagreements with this president, but we're focused on those disagreements when it comes to providing good-paying jobs to people, issues like minimum wage, like trying to save access to health care, while he wants to demonize 4 women of color and engage in this kind of bile. And, it was such a tragedy last week when we're celebrating the 50th anniversary of one of the greatest achievements in American history, in the history, frankly, of humankind, the landing on the moon, that we see one of the most tawdry moments in our history of the president engaging in this kind of behavior.
I want to ask you, because you this week will have a chance to ask questions of Robert Mueller, the special counsel, when he appears and answers questions about that 400-page report he turned in. He's already said he's not going to go beyond those 400-something pages. What is the purpose? What do you actually think you're going to learn?
Well, since most Americans, in their busy lives haven't had the opportunity to read that report, and it's a pretty dry prosecutorial work product, we want Bob Mueller to bring it to life, to talk about what's in that report. It's a pretty damning set of facts that involve a presidential campaign in a close race, welcoming help from a hostile foreign power, not reporting it, but eagerly embracing it, building it into their campaign strategy, lying about it to cover up, then obstructing an investigation into foreign interference, again to try to cover up. That's a pretty damning set of facts that most American people are not familiar with. And of course, the president keeps on trying to deceive them about those facts. But who better to bring them to life than the man who did the investigation himself? We want the people to hear it directly from him, not filtered through Bill Barr, who had his own misleading characterization of it, but from the man who did the work himself.
Last year on this program, you said there was a very real prospect that on the day President Trump leaves office that he would be indicted. The Justice Department, you said, would do that. This week, the U.S. Attorney's Office in New York concluded its investigation into campaign finance, and there were no charges there related to him. Does this prove your predictions wrong, that this case is closed?
No, not at all. I mean, it's been clear, from Bob Mueller that he felt, and the Justice Department feels bound by this Office of Legal Counsel opinion, that you can't indict a sitting president. But he is a essentially unindicted co-conspirator. He's been identified as individual one, as the person who directed Michael Cohen to commit this fraudulent campaign scheme. And I assume that all this means in terms of the Southern District of New York is that the case will be reopened when he leaves office, providing the statute of limitations has not run, and the Justice Department will have to weigh whether to indict the former president. From my point of view, if the evidence supports that, he should be indicted. It's certainly the view of the Justice Department is reflected in that indictment that Donald Trump was the one who coordinated and directed that illegal scheme. And why should Michael Cohen go to jail? But the guy who did the direction and the coordination himself evade justice. He is not above the law. He may have a temporary reprieve while he occupies that office, but I think the Justice Department will have to seriously consider reopening the case if that's what it requires and indicting him when he leaves office.
You alleged this week that the Attorney General, Bill Barr, intervened to stop this investigation or may have done that. Do you have any evidence to support that?
Well, I haven't alleged that he did that. What I have said is that Congress ought to find out and make sure there was no intervention by Bill Barr or Maine Justice to bring about essentially a political closure of that case. Now, I don't know that that's the case, but one of the concerns that I've had is when Bill Barr testified in the Senate that he believes that the president could have made the Mueller investigation go away anytime he wanted if he thought it was unfair. It's logical to conclude he also feels the president can make any of these other cases go away if he deems them unfair. And that is not our understanding or anyone else's of the law. The president is not above the law. And we're going to do our oversight to make sure that none of these cases are made to go away to protect the president.
All right, Congressman, thank you very much. We'll be back in a minute with